465.
He's a rising star from Perth who left the mining industry to chase a career in stand-up comedy. It's a big gamble, but it is certainly paying off. Craig Quartermaine has performed in shows around the world, with one critic describing him as, quote, a charming ball of rage. Check him out.
I went to a Christmas party and the theme was fairy tale, fantasy. Dress up as something that doesn't exist. There were people dressed like wizards and unicorns and dragons. I wore a suit and I went as an Aboriginal Prime Minister. I don't know if we should applaud that one. But I won a door prize for most elaborate costume. That's where we're at the moment.
Oh, and he's on our couch now. Craig Quartermaine, welcome to the Should I have laughed at that?
Thank you for digging up Fat Craig vision.
Rubbish.
But no, of course laugh at it. That's kind of the purpose of it. But I'm really disappointed that I was in the green room. My manager had to put me in an arm lock when you guys were talking about Fraser Anning and sex robots.
Oh, yes.
I wanted to be out here so bad. I mean,
well,
just picturing a sex robot that runs on coal.
Hey, speaking of coal, you were in the mining industry for a while.
I was, yeah.
What made you decide to change careers and to change paths?
I was basically 28, getting closer to 30, and realised I'd been doing the one job since I was like 19, and you know, now all the trucks are mechanised, and I'm about to be replaced by, ironically, a robot. But yeah, that just kind of dawned on me. I started doing some community radio, and a job came up at the ABC, and I went for it. And
were you always funny? Did you always have that funny bone?
I didn't think so. I actually have a lot of people who I've worked with and relatives who are just like, Craig, yeah, I get that, but I can write. I think that's my thing, in that I have this habit I developed as a journalist, whereas Joe's kind of capitalised on it, whereas you think it...
Oh, don't say that to me.
No, well, you think it, but you don't say it. Whereas Joe basically
I have the opposite problem, that's right,
Yeah,
I just say it.
And if you do that on stage, that's the art of comedy, is basically people think you're not meant to say it. Yeah. And if you can get away with it, then great.
Yeah, it's ingenious. And of course, comedy is, we were just talking, comedy is very hard work. It takes a lot of, you know, it's a serious business trying to be funny.
Yeah, but there's so much money in it.
Yeah. Speaking of money, as well as playing big rooms right around the country, you also play in AFL Charity matches.
Yeah, the Community Cup is going to be kicking off. AFL, people of Sydney, that's like your football, but with crowds. Yeah, no, the Community Cup's amazing. It's for arts. It's to supply arts programs for homeless people and people. That will be kicking off in August. I don't want to let my manager know that I've got a knee injury at the moment, so I may not play this year. But
I've heard that sometimes you switch sides.
I do like to play for both teams. Yeah. No, between media and musicians, and yeah.
Nice.
But a lot of the other good work you do, East Kimberley, your origins,
Kununurra.
and you've been back recently to sort of look at the community and help out. What have you been doing?
Well, I actually did a tour of Central Queensland. We were discussing off air, and that was for, see, that was a weird gig. That was for Drought Relief, and 2 of the gigs got cancelled due to floods. It was weird, okay? But to go to all these small towns all the way through Central Queensland and see how much it meant to them, just triggered something in me, because I am from, I'm a Nyunga from Perth, but I grew up in Kununurra. And all those towns from the East Kimberley through Central Western Australia have a lot of issues. And as a kid, I remember, all right, this is going to be pretty late, when I was 12 years old, I can remember a guy coming to my school, nothing special. He played a set of drums made out of PVC piping with a pair of thongs.
Oh. That's funny.
I thought it was great.
That's gold.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, he didn't set the world on fire, but it stuck with me as a 12-year-old kid. Wow. And so I figured after this tour, I am going, we're in the process of finding venues and finding places, but basically during the day we'll teach kids. I'm going to teach them stand-up. I was a journalist. I can teach them how you can create content with just a phone and something to hold it steady, and you know, gives kids some sort of purpose and aim, because, or if you just want to do stand-up, just get a pad and pen.
I've got to say, as a mother of boys, they need to see strong blokes in their lives. It's that whole, you can't be what you can't see. And I think that is so important that you're going back there. That's unreal.
Well, again, porcelain drum kit dudes still kind of stuck with me. And I've had some really good heroes to follow. But yeah, just to see something, like, and to come from the East Kimberley, and I've played Eastern Europe and Edinburgh twice. I mean, the the Perth arena. I opened for Jim Jeffries and
Wow.
12,000 people. Like, I'm not, from where I'm from, I'm not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Like, if you go statistically. So
Do you think
Tell
the
us about
go
this show you're working on, because it sounds very interesting. You're on a bus ride, and you took people with you who had proudly booed Adam Goodes.
Yeah, so as a journalist back in the day, we covered the story where people were on a bus from Perth to Western Australia for the 2015 Grand Final. And that was the West Coast Eagles, the supporters were the last team to boo Adam Goodes before he was forced into retirement. So I jumped on a bus from Perth to Melbourne with a whole bunch of people who proudly did it, and trying to be a professional journalist up until about Sejuna. And then it kicked off. I tried my best to be as diplomatic as possible, but with
That doesn't
sport-
sound like you.
Well, I was getting paid back then. I had to be, but yeah, it was one of those things where I can tell a bad argument. You know, when you go to football, there's a narrative. Okay, he had a go at us. He did this. He hit our player. Let's boo him. The minute after that game against Carlton, and it continued, it's like, you guys are. What's your real reason? And that's where the arguments came from.
There's been a massive, even just in the last couple of years, there seems to have been a massive shift. We've had the film come out about Goodsy, who I know and love, and people are saying, even people who sort of thought, well, hang on, maybe it wasn't so bad, are now saying, and the AFL itself is saying sorry. We've had the first two Indigenous ministers for Indigenous Affairs, and an opposition Indigenous spokeswoman, I should say, in Linda Burney for Indigenous Affairs. Do you think things have changed since you did that first joke about an Aboriginal Prime Minister and how laughable that was? Do you think we're closer to getting there?
It's definitely changed. Like, I mean, you got to realise my parents grew up in Carnarvon in the '60s, and to go from there to where I am now, it is changing. But I mean, the fact that that Adam Goodes film is going to get played in schools is amazing.
Yeah, and right here on Network 10, in fact.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that was brilliant. And you know, there's going to be some. The next generation are going to hopefully be another improvement.
Yeah.
You're awesome. Head to Craig's website to check out all the details on his upcoming shows. Craig Quartermaine Comedy on Facebook, in fact. That's where you need to go. Thanks so much for joining us on the show. It's lovely to see you. Okay, still to come, the bloke who sued a car company for his fuel-guzzling new ride, and he won. We'll find out more about that in a moment. More Hot Topics. See you soon.